10 prospects, a ton of range here. Thank you guys for keeping recommending these guys. First up, Yeremy Cabrera, Washington Nationals, $15. He was a name to watch on one of the episodes recently, but I don't see much upside. Really small kid, so I'm going to sell him at $15. Even in that system specifically, you have Devin Fitzgerald, Seaver King, Gavin Fein, Eli Willits. You have some of the pitchers, so if you wanted to go, of course, there's different values on some of those guys, but like Fein's not that much more expensive than that. But for $15, you can get another prospect who has the upside, right? Bowman market is not just about development and players being good prospects in the pros. It's about the upside and potential to be a star. And just because of his size and how he hits, he's not really going to have that upside. So I'm going to sell him. Next up, Johnny Severino, Pittsburgh Pirates. A lot of people ask me about him. $8, really cheap. So what would you think? Maybe a hold or a buy? He's got raw power, no patience, no plate discipline. So it's just not for me. His first pitch strike rate is above 50%, which is crazy. So he's getting behind in every count, and he swings at 37% of balls outside the zone. Too high. $8 Bowman, I get it. It's pretty much nothing, but I'm selling him. I'd rather just put that towards a prospect with some form of upside and a ceiling there. Just not for me. Franklin Arias, $115 base auto. Now you would think, okay, he was selling on the cheap guys. He's probably going to sell at 115, right? No, I'm going to buy Franklin Arias at 115. This is the face of the Boston Red Sox. You had guys like Roman Anthony, who again, he could still be a star, but I wasn't as high on him as everyone else. People freaked at me when I put Basayo over him. You had Marcelo Meyer, who hasn't really panned out tremendously. You had Christian Campbell. Everyone knows that story. Franklin Arias is going to be the high floor, automatic face of this franchise. Even if he doesn't keep this power consistently, he's going to hit 300, be the face of that type of organization, which is a higher popularity team in Boston in a big market. $115 is expensive, but there's little to no risk because it's not going to go down. He's going to keep hitting consistently, and when he gets called up, it should go up regardless. So I'm going to buy Franklin Arias. Next up, Nelson Rada of the Los Angeles Angels, $40 first Bowman. And again, I just talked about the Angels not being great with hitters. So I chose Rada because I wanted to be tested on that belief and see if he could turn my thoughts around when I dove in more deeply. Besides Hayden Alvarez, it still holds. It's the only prospect I like in that organization as a hitter. Rada hits for a lot of soft contact. Remember what I just said about the high upside prospects in the Bowman market? That's what you want to see. He's got an 11% hard hit rate this year, 11. And even other years, it's been around 20 or lower than 20. This is a singles hitter. So again, you want to go look at how the Bowman market responds to that. Go look up Chandler Simpson's cards. I know Arias is older, but go look at them. They just don't sell because people don't want singles hitters. The Bowman market wants high upside star potential. So $40, I'm selling. Now you may say there's been a lot of sells. That's 3 sells out of 4. As I said last episode, when you're buying in Bowman, you do not want to have a huge inventory of a ton of prospects. You want to be very targeted. So you're not going to get a buy or hold out of me unless I truly want to buy or hold. So right now we got 3 sells and a buy. Next up, Dakota Jordan of the San Francisco Giants, $28. Speaking of power, the opposite, Dakota has 15 homers and a .500 slugging percentage, but he's 23, in high A, 30% K rate, 7% walk rate. You can't do that at that age, at that lower level. So I am going to sell. Take the premium on the $28. It's a solid profit that you could take and put over to another prospect. Next up, Akedri Vargas, $3 first Bowman. $3. You got to sell. He swings at nearly 50% of balls outside of the zone. That's all I have to say. The guy chases too much, young kid, one of those guys that could fade out and just kind of be one of those early fallouts of a prospect. I'm selling him too. So I have now 5 sells and 1 buy. Let's turn some things around here. Eduardo Quintero, LA Dodgers, $50 first Bowman. I actually did not think it was that cheap. I am buying him at $50 all day. This is a top 15 future 2027 prospect. Yes, you have Sirota, DePaul, you have all these guys in that Zaire Hope in that organization. They all may not be there. Quintero may not be there, but after the deadline, but he's finally showing the pop this summer. So he didn't really go big name this year when everyone thought he would take that leap. And even when he didn't do that major pop and power throughout the early part of the year, he was still hitting really well. He's got a 411 OBP, 61 runs, 40 RBI, and 30 stolen bases. That is a 5-tool upside prospect. And he did that quietly. Now he's trying to show the pop and has a 1100 OPS in his last 30 games. He would be the #1 prospect in at least 10 other organizations right now if he wasn't with the Dodgers. So $50 first Bowman, buy that all day. And when you look at this, right, the first 7 guys I did, my 2 buys are Franklin Arias and Eduardo Quintero. Good, high hit tool, high upside prospects. Let's keep going. How about probably the biggest name in all of minor league baseball, Seth Hernandez, $160 first Bowman for a pitcher. That's insane. But don't sell it. Hold on. I looked at Skeens' prices for his first Bowman, and it's like $700. So that's kind of a silver lining for Seth Hernandez, right? Because he's got the upside to be a Paul Skeens and one of the most exciting young prospects in baseball. But if Skeens stays in Pittsburgh, he'll be paired with him. So maybe he's not like the ace of the rotation, but not much risk here. Seth Hernandez, $160. If he continues to perform well and shoot up ranks, it'll be worth more. So just hold on to it. I wouldn't buy a pitcher at $160. I don't care if you're the next Randy Johnson at 14 years old. $160 is so expensive for a pitcher, but hold on to him. Next up, Malcolm Moore. Insiders know the name because Favorites and Sleepers Part 2, I called him out as a Texas Rangers sleeper. $15 first Bowman, I am buying. Let me tell you what I wrote in my Favorites and Sleepers write-up and why you should join us. Moore dealt with a finger injury last year, which as you can imagine was challenging for a developing catcher. Not just behind the plate, but getting used to using a wood bat for the first time out of college. The performance issues in 2025 are showing like they were due to that injury. In 2026, he has a 930 OPS across A+ and AA. He's got a long lefty swing that'll need to tighten up, but for the $15 price tag, it's well worth the buy with how well he's hitting. He was at one point this year the hottest hitter in minor league baseball, so buy him at 15. So now again, you got some good buys here. Let's go to number 10, Justin Gonzalez for the Boston Red Sox. $50 first Bowman. I am going to hold. Now I almost gave him a buy because he is a monster. We talked about the upside. I got to see him live. He looks bigger than the 6'5" that he is listed at on MLB.com. He's huge, but he doesn't strike out that much. His hard hit rate, line drive rate, home run rate, and contact rates are all up year over year. The crazy part about it is the pop actually isn't there. Like even though it's up, he's got like the 400 plus slugging percentage. He doesn't have that monstrous 500 plus 550 that we expected when he made some headlines in spring training. So $50 is pricey. There's still some risk with how young he is. So I'm holding him, but I really, really like it and it could become a buy for me soon. So to go buy, hold, sell, your guys' favorite. I have a ton of good prospects I'm really excited about. Let's start with the bang. Kendry Churio. He's $40 for his first Bowman. I'm holding. I know he's just had a dominant performance. He's been absolutely dominant the entire year. The stuff is filthy. Not many prospects of his size do well as a pitcher in the upper levels. He's actually a little smaller than Jonah Tong. Tong's a perfect example. Crushed, dominant all the way up to AAA in the pros and kind of been iffy. Churio stuff is even filthier, so I'm holding because it's so good. The breaking ball is so ridiculous that there's a chance that he is the kind of lone man out and can be that successful, challenging pitcher at that level. So let's see what happens. But buying him is a little tough, just pitchers in general. So you don't really want to dive in big. Hold on and let's see what happens. Josue Briseño, $35 to $40, same thing. Buy. Love this kid. Hard hit machine. He's just got back from injury. I love his beautiful, beautiful lefty swing. Fast, effective. In AA for the rest of the year, so I'll have plenty of time. But he just came back from his rehab assignment. Already 4 for 8 with a homer. This is a top 15 prospect in 2027. I said with the injury, it would be hard for MLB Pipeline and others to rank him that high, but I actually think he's got plenty of time to hit that well and shoot up. Blake Burke, Milwaukee Brewers, $25. I'm going to hold. I almost thought about selling because when you talk about, and there's a few guys like this, when you talk about upside, Bowman's all about upside, right? I wouldn't say that there's much upside here. I think the floor is nice, but the upside is just not there. He's looking like a platoon first baseman. He can't really hit lefties that well. That just doesn't hold up long-term in the hobby. But if he can reach 30, 35 homers in the minor leagues this season, you'll see a nice jump in his market and you can go ahead and flip that. Listen, guys like Ben Rice turned that around. He was projected to be a platoon first baseman when he came up, and he's completely changed that. So you never know. But again, when you go off probabilities, you just want to be a little careful when you're looking at prospects who have that challenging upside. 30% K rate, can't hit lefties. I'll hold him just for this year. Sammy Stafora, I called him out as being an honorable mention for Player of the Week. $20 first Bowman. I'm going to sell. I know everyone is excited about Sammy. This is a kid that never really saw success over several years. The recent A+ success has come with more chases, more strikeouts, less walks. He's getting more aggressive, which means the power is coming because of that, but it's going to have to get toned down when he gets called up to AA. So there's going to be a correction. I'm not saying that the surge isn't real. I'm not saying that he's still really young. He's like 21, so I'm not saying that there's any shot that he's done. Just take advantage of a nice jump in his market. A lot of people have asked me about him and talking about him, so people are looking to buy him. You can make a nice chunk of change. And again, if he does continue to thrive, that's tough. But when he gets called up to AA, you're likely to see a little regression and work through on some of those issues with the swing and miss. Ryan Mitchell, St. Louis Cardinals. He was one of my favorite picks from Bowman Draft last year. I said he was what Braylon Payne was the year before, highest upside potential prospect, kind of sleeper, even though Braylon Payne was first rounder. Ryan Mitchell was that for me this year, and he's already giving me those Braylon Payne vibes from this year's performance. Even more this year, like from last year. The K rate's high, just like Payne, but walks a ton, so he's just swinging and missing a lot. Sneaky power potential, slim build, just like Braylon did last year. Mitchell's starting to put it together this summer. 974 OPS over his last 14 games. Buying low means taking risk, but watch the tape with Mitchell. When he hits the ball, when he's feeling comfortable to plate, he shows those flashes of being what Payne is doing this year, and a lot of people didn't see that last year. So keep an eye on Mitchell. Really exciting for a cheap buy. He's actually well worth it to take that risk. Nolan Schubert, only a $10 first Bowman auto. He's 6'4" lefty, raw power, and massive swing and miss issues. That didn't just start in the minors. They were there in college too. So we talk about good college bats. When it's that long and you're already struggling with swing and miss, his best case scenario is like Josh Bell. And I think that's best case. I don't think a guy like him can continue to hit well in the bigs with that much of a swing and miss issue. So even though it's $10 I'm selling, that's not my prospect. I do not want a guy whose best case scenario is like 205 with 20-30 homers. It's just not for me. And again, that's best case. What's up, Sean Gamble, Kansas City Royals former first round pick, $22. He's really struggling, huh? I kept an eye on him, but the stats are really challenging. I just called the Royals as being one of my favorite underrated systems in baseball. He didn't play last year, Gamble, so this is truly his pro debut, and I liked him coming out of the draft, so I'm going to stick with that. Remember what I said about kind of waiting, giving it time, especially when he's young. Buy him up cheap. And he's 11 for his last 39, 282 average, 404 OBP. In his last 10 games, he plays a good center field, so maybe he's getting it going. Will the hit tool hold up long term? I don't know. But I'll happily give him time over the next 12 to 18 months to figure that out, being such a young kid who was drafted in the first round, who I really liked and liked his tools and all of that. So let's see. Mitch Voigt. He was a good college first round bat with only 400 plate appearances in his career. So if you were buying him before, don't sell. I wasn't, but I will hold him if I was. The average isn't there, but the underlying metrics look pretty good. The OBP is 100 points above his average, which we always like to see. It means he's walking a ton. The WRC plus is above 100. It's at 104, which means he's above average in terms of his overall performance. He's getting more loft on the ball this year. The contact rate is up a smidge, even though the swing and his overall swing rate is lower, which is great too. He's been more patient. I just don't know about the upside, and Bowman's all about upside, and I don't know if this is ever going to be like a 280, 25, 30 homer player. I just don't think it is. I think he's more of a utility type of guy. So hold. Let's see what happens. What's up, Brett Bateman, Chicago Cubs, $10. Same thing as Voigt. There's really not projectable upside here, but he's one of the most patient hitters in all of the minor leagues and could sneak his way onto the Cubs this year. So if I had him, I'd hold him at $10. The way he's hitting in AAA, 870 OPS, 49 runs, 31 stolen bases, 31 RBI, 18 stolen bases in 71 games. Hold him. He can get the call up, maybe be like a flash in the pan type of quick guy for the Cubs late in the season, and then you could sell him at that point. Again, I don't know about long-term projectable upside. John Ferhan Garcia, John Stiggins' brother, $5 first Bowman. I'm selling. He's not going to make it behind the plate, so he's not going to be a catcher long-term. Doesn't really have a position. Swings way too often. Swing and miss a ton. Even if he figures out the plate approach, he'll be like a undersized power utility guy that can't really play positions. Not for me. Just sell him. Go after someone else. Get a cheaper value guy. Maybe I'll do an updated Bowman value buys list, since a lot of the guys I picked a couple of, like 2 months ago are very expensive now. So maybe I'll do that, and you can use some of this money towards that. The biggest name, Edward Florentino, $100 first Bowman. I'm going to sell. This is absolutely no way saying that I'm out on Florentino as a prospect, but a kid who is going through some growing pains in high A, just came off 2026 Bowman as being the face #1 prospect chase of that list, still seeing that value and jumping up a ton of prospect rankings over the past several months. All of those premiums are baked into that price already. So he would essentially have to keep up that extremely strong, consistent performance, which again, I'm not saying he won't, but just to kind of keep and maintain that price, I think he'd have to go on like an absolute spree in AA in order to keep that price above 100. I think that's a really hefty price. So you can essentially sell him and load up on somebody. And then again, you could buy back in on Florentino. He's so young and has so much time that I'm not saying I'm out on him. I just think that this is the type of time where you want to play the market, take that profit, and then maybe buy back in the future. First up, Marco Dingus. First Bowman, Milwaukee Brewers catcher, $15 to $20. Too many prospects in the system. I know I generally say not to compare. One of the deepest systems in the sport. You have all the attention on Andrew Fisher, on Made, on Pena, Braylon Payne, Josh Adamszewski. The upside on Dingus is not huge. I think he's a really good high floor hitter that will eventually see the pros, but I'm just selling on that. There's too much attention on all these other guys. It's a guy who hasn't really been spoken about, where he was like a top 10 catching prospect in baseball for a while and kind of fizzled out there. Good hitter, hits like 270, 280 with a 400 OBP, like solid hitter, but just not enough to kind of like take away from the limelight of all these other guys. Player Hope, $60. Now, he doesn't have a first Bowman, so that I think impacts things a lot. We said before, it doesn't really matter about the jersey, but it is a Dodgers jersey, and now he's on the Tigers. I'm going to sell just because I never really was huge on Hope. I think it's a great situation for him. I think he's a really good prospect. I was never like star power like DePaula or even Sirota in terms of that high of a floor. I think I'll see the bigs. I think it'll be exciting, but I think Max Clark and Riley Green. Max Clark's that really exciting one in that system. You obviously have Kevin McGonigal. So, you know, not really for me, especially $60 for a prospect that doesn't have a true first Bowman autograph. Wahiwa Aloy. This was a guy that we covered on College to Chrome honor roll. Baltimore Orioles, really exciting. He's been crushing the ball. $50 first Bowman. I'm going to hold. I don't want to sell, but I'm going to hold. He's crushing, as we talked about in the segment in the write-up last week. Check out tothebigs.com. But as I mentioned, he was going to get called up to AA, and he was going to have some adjustment issues and things of that nature because he doesn't take a lot of pitches, he swings a lot, and he chases. So he'll go through those growing pains in AA, and he already is, but the upside is there. And again, for a college hitter who's had success, he's very exciting prospect. You watch him, he hits bombs, he's just a lot of fun, he's very vibrant, like exciting. So I'm holding for that upside, and let's see how he does when he adapts in AA as a young prospect. Next up, Nathan Flowelling, the All-Star Futures Game MVP, $35. You know how much I love Cooper Fleming. I like Caden Bodine. I think Flowelling has the worst hit tool of the three. For that, I'm going to sell at $35. I would have told you to sell when he was the Futures MVP. That's when you take advantage of the market. Even prospects I love, I would sell at specific times like that where there's a huge jump. He's young, nice upside, but I just think the hit tool is not as great as the other guys. And when I'm talking about the other prospects, like again, you want to look at organizational depth, not so much positional depth. Catcher should be fine. I know Bodine's a catcher. Fleming is like a first baseman or whatnot, but I'm just buying Fleming in this system. And I think Flowelling isn't the hit tool. He's hitting like 240 or some odd. I know he's very young, but just give me Fleming all day. So I'm selling on Flowelling. Next up, Moises Chase. I think I'm saying that right. Pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, $5 first Bowman. So this is one of those value plays. I'm going to hold. You just traded Ramon Marquez. You don't really have a lot of pitching depth in the system. So he's having an okay year. He's kind of struggled a bit recently, but I'll hold on to him and see how he does and see if he can grow into that system as a possible rotation piece for them at some point in the future. Let's see. Next up, Gavin Keelan, shortstop for the San Francisco Giants. We talk about how much we like these college hitters. $20 first Bowman, I'm going to buy. This kid's hitting really well in Double A as a super young pro debut kid. I think he's like 21, turning 22, but really good hitter and a guy that I think can move through that system. And for $20, give me that all day, especially for a team that is selling, that's sold, and is starting fresh. You have a nice young prospect who could be a good fielding, solid hitting shortstop for that pro team at some point sooner rather than later. Liam Doyle, starting pitcher, $50 first Bowman. I'm going to sell. I like Doyle a lot. Like I said, I like when I think in the AMA question a few weeks ago, it was Doyle or Arnold, and I picked Doyle. But $50 is pricey for a pitcher who's not like making an absolute splash. You can grab him back. He's not seeing the big leagues in 2026. So you can always pick him back up next year, maybe during the lockout, maybe things like that. But he's struggling in Double A. And again, he's had ups and downs. The tools are fantastic. He's got frontline potential starter, potential, like I said. But for $50 as a pitcher, I'm just selling. There's really like 3 or 4 pitching prospects I'm buying at that price, and it's all the big guys that you know. Next up, Tyson Lewis, Cincinnati Reds. I've been talking about him a lot. He was one of my favorite prospects last year. He struggled mightily in the beginning of the season. Massive hard hit rates. Hits the ball so far, so hard, but he doesn't hit the ball enough. 30-some-odd% K rate, doesn't walk that much. They called him up from A to A+. I was nervous about that, but it was the fresh start he needed. I've been talking to his agent, who actually said that he was dealing with some lingering injuries. He's healthy now, and it was a nice change of pace, and the development team's done great with him. So I like $30 for his first Bowman. I'm going to hold it. Could be a buy soon, but I want to see some more consistency with that contact. But I like what I'm seeing from that development, and it's exactly why I thought he was such a high upside prospect, if he can make that consistent contact as he develops, and we're loving what we're seeing at A+. Alan Lindsay, we talked about him earlier. $15 first Bowman. I'm buying that. Another Dodger. I know it's crazy. We talked about organizational depth, but the younger, lower level kids, it doesn't really impact them. Give me him. He can flat out hit. What's crazy is he has almost a 500 batting average on balls in play, which is nuts. He pretty much puts the ball in play and gets on base. Get the K rate down, and we're talking, it's like in the 25% range, but well worth the $15 up value here, where this is a kid who could hit potentially for some power in the future and speed and hits for average and all of that. Devin Fitzgerald, $30 first Bowman. Now this kid was the talk of the minor leagues at the beginning of the season, and then we found out he started struggling mightily when he was called up to Double A. We found out his mother was sick. Terrible, and I hope everything's doing well with their family. I still love this kid. I am holding his first Bowman auto. I've liked him for over a year now since he made my Bowman Chrome 2025 chase list. So happy to see that everything is kind of, he's feeling better, getting back into the swing of things. I hope everything goes well with his family. Like I said, this kid's going to hit long term. I wouldn't worry about it. He is a starter for that Washington Nationals future team. At some point, they traded Garcia. We'll see what they did. They kept Abrams, but they said they may trade him this winter. So let's see what happens. But Fitzgerald is a part of that future, no question.